concept taught to us at a very young age, a universally accepted notion made to be as something natural as water. But does time actually exist? We can't touch, smell, taste, hear, or even see time, and yet it has arguably existed for millennia. The best way to define time is that it's considered a measurement of change. Our surroundings are constantly changing around us. These changes were then attributed to astronomy, which laid the foundation for time itself. The revolution of the Earth around the sun changed the appearance of the sky, which we know as day and night. Our appearances also changed numerous of times within our lifespan, and we associate it with the passing of time. This concept was then created to help us and scientists understand these changes. It was also used for organizational purposes. Since the beginnings of the human race, it was we hunt or farm at this time and we rest at that time, etc. As technology and societies progressed, making time more portable, the role of the time became more ingrained into our lives, from planning to meet up with people or to going to work. So what does this all amount to? Well, because of this, our lives have become so time-oriented that essentially the very minute of an hour matters. So the question arises, how can an almost entirely imaginary concept, what we know as time, dictate our entire lives? Could you imagine what life would be like without time? Difficult to think about. How many times a day do we look at our phones or watches? On the daily, we rely on time, looking at it so oftenly since it has become so essential to our lives. It is as if it became one with us. Our responsibilities are solely dependent on time. Just look at all these people. These individuals are the very epitome of this idea. They all have places to go and things to do. Most are running on time limits. They only have a certain amount of time before they must move on to the next task in their demanding schedules. Practically, most people don't have endless time on their hands because it doesn't seem possible. People have families to attend to, errands to run, and jobs to do. This environment encapsulates this idea perfectly. In city-like environments, you can hear the hustle of people going to the places they need to go. Everyone has things to do. I mean, you can hear the car horns blaring all around you. And that includes me. I mean, look over there. It looks like my backpack, filled with all the essentials I need to go to school. Although my schedule varies, it just boils down to waking up, preparing to go to class, doing homework, and even helping out at a part-time job. Our lives have resorted to such routinal daily lives, and it's considered mundane for many. Aside from the routinal aspects of life and time, what really is saddening about it is how we look and experience time itself. We have a tendency to look back on what has already occurred, all the experiences and memories from the past that helped mold us into who we are today, which includes the bad ones. The past likes to haunt us. Like demons, they torture us and impede us from progressing and moving on to other things. Experiences and memories we wish we could bury and never have to recover ever again, and yet they somehow like to creep up on us from time to time. Those memories we dread so much somehow at times find us and hit us. They hit us hard. Like that girl right there, who's probably on her way to class. She reminds me of a past love And as we look back, she's gone in a blink of an eye. I think about the good times we had together, but also the bad times too. This succubus of a memory clings on to me and haunts me. When it does pop into mind, that pierceful feeling of pain returns. As much as we would love to vanquish these horrible demons, what we know as painful memories in life, we struggle to do so. Why? Because we dwell on the past too much, and it's so hard for us to forget these impactful times in our lives. That also includes the negative things we've done ourselves, in which we let those times define who we are currently. Or even worse, we allow others to define us based on those times. We can't change the past. The past has been recorded and solidified. Like the saying goes, the past cannot be altered. Thankfully for most of us, we're able to move on after a given amount of time, of course. There are times, though, that we still linger in the past, thinking about the good times. This is what we know as nostalgia. Seeing something familiar that reminds you of a past experience that gives you this feeling of comforting remembrance. It feels good to relive the past for just a minute. For instance, I see something on the ground right there, to our right, on the ground. This looks like a toy I used to play with when I was a kid. Looks like a G.I. Joe. Oh, how much fun I had playing these types of action figures. You know, this toy, it just reminds me of a time when I spent my childhood just playing with toys and watching TV. The toys have been replaced with an iPhone and TV replaced by YouTube and Netflix. Things are rapidly changing, and there have been times in which I've wanted to go back to the past. Things really did seem simpler back then. We had less responsibilities and we worried about such minute problems. But as adults, it tends to dawn on us that we miss our younger days. This then leads to a shift of our focus to the past. I didn't have a workload. I didn't have a job to worry about. I didn't have bills to pay, or thoughts that oftenly cross our minds. We don't draw attention to the now because we're still living in the past, either wishing for things to go back to the way they were, or letting the past stop us from moving on. One must question, though, were things really that amazing back then? Sometimes we block the negative aspects in favor for the positive ones. Additionally, one cannot deny the progression of society, the technological innovations, and the development of open-minded societies. The present won't automatically revert back to the past, regardless of how much we yearn for it nonetheless. Time is constantly changing. It's a constant flow that we must adapt to. All we can do is just accept our current reality and move on. It's easier said than done, but that's the only solution to this conundrum that we find ourselves in. The present is important and shouldn't be ignored. The present is a gift to us. What is more beautiful than the gift of life? The privilege to wake up and be alive. What should we do with this gift of life? Well, we should focus on living our lives, of course. Focusing on what is in front of us right now. Thinking about all the good things that we have in life right now. There are probably so many people in the world who want to trade places with us. These good aspects in our lives may not last forever, and yet we neglect them. Whether it may be family, friends, loved ones, material objects, and even our jobs and current situations in life. We can't thoroughly be joyful or thankful for these things if we're thinking about the things we don't have or the things we did have. If you're unsatisfied with the place you are right now in life, you have to take the proper actions to create major change in your life. The ideal of focusing on the present isn't anything new. This concept has existed for centuries. It is known as the Zen Buddhist ideal of being present. The Buddha himself has said, experience this present moment with full attention. Now, I can imagine how difficult it could be for many, including me. But just imagine how life could be lived if we just focused on our lives currently. Of course, being the Zen Buddhist ideal of being present requires a lot of meditation and a lot of discipline. But if we at least change our perspective to be more present-oriented, it can make a huge difference in our lives. I believe we should slow our pace a bit and examine our surroundings as we look to the pond and we look up to the trees and then just turn around, look at what's behind us. All this is natural beauty. This really is a beautiful environment. So I'd imagine being present would be something similar to this. Just walking through the woods and just experiencing your current present of just walking through the woods. No thinking about school or work or any of the other troubling things we must do. When I walk through these woods, I just like to think. I don't necessarily think about the responsibilities or problems of the day. I just think. I think about walking and enjoying myself in such a beautiful setting. But then again, it doesn't seem like we can enjoy it. Don't forget what you need to do. You don't have a lot of time, you know. Our current responsibilities slowly guide us until we can get them over with. Sometimes it just feels like we're slowly drowning in them because there's so much things we have to do. But sometimes, we shift that focus to the future. When we aren't so fixated on the past, we tend to shift that fixation to what lies beyond us. It can be really exciting or thrilling. Just look at that guy over there. He seems to have a bright future ahead of himself. Or he just has exciting plans for later on. Depending on what we may have planned, our perception of time can change. When we're having fun, we tend to lose track of time. And after those few glances at the time, we ponder how much longer we have until the fun ends. Or we're somewhere where we would rather be somewhere else. We look at the time every so often, disappointed, counting each minute, thinking about what we will do after this. It's interesting how our perception of time can change so drastically. An hour can feel like a minute, or it can feel like an entire day. But sometimes we don't know how to feel about the future. The future is foreign to us. Just like what they say, tomorrow is a mystery. But as humans, we don't like mysteries because it can lead to fear. Many fear the future. The future can be so frightening because we don't know what it holds. Something great may be in the making, or the contrast, something terrible. Just like when we were kids, or even now, depending on who you're asking, we were deathly afraid of the dark. All we could think about were the possible monsters lurking in the shadows, waiting to catch us off guard. It's just like the future. The future cannot be 100% accurately predicted. Sorry. So as I was saying, there will always always be a possibility of an outcome we were not expecting. Haven't you had multiple experiences in which you planned for something to happen but things didn't go according to plan? I know of an impactful saying in which goes as, if you want to make God laugh, just tell him about your plans. Sort of like planning a surprise party for someone, but they show up an hour early. We become so worried about what the future holds that we become so obsessed. Questions we ask ourselves constantly bombard us. Will I graduate? Will I ever meet the one? What will be my career? Will I lead a successful life or a life of failure? We will never know. And perhaps one of the more melancholic things that we know nothing about, which is inevitable in life, well, death. When God, the universe, or whatever other higher power you might believe in says that your time is done, well, it's done. We don't have a choice. There are those who are looking forward to it, those who feel indifferent about it, and those who are extremely afraid of death. We don't know when death is gonna come upon us. Many of us have so many things we want to do in life, and when it appears that the Grim Reaper himself is knocking on the door, all the regrets in life then cloud our minds. The risk we should have taken, the things we've done, and it leads to the question, was my life worth it? All the time we either wasted or used well. What does all this used up time amount to? Time brings nothing but anxiety. I just feel uneasy thinking about what my future will be like. Since we don't know what the future will hold for us, all we can do is constantly think about it, and it just distracts us from everything else because we want to know the future so badly. We want to know what our destinies will be because we just want to have a good life, no matter what. And we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want any of that. And it sucks because the future sucks. So one may ask, how can we avoid this? Well, it's just a matter of... I warned you. Where'd she go? It's already too late.
Are you okay?
You're out of time. How can an almost entirely imaginary concept what we know as time dictate our entire lives? Could you imagine what life would be like without our lives that resorted to such routine daily lives? The past likes to haunt us. Like demons, they torture us and impede us from progressing, moving on. Like the saying goes, the past cannot be altered. Our current responsibilities slowly gnaw at us until we get them over with. Sometimes we just feel like we're slowly drowning in them. The future is foreign to us. The future can be so frightening because we don't know what it holds. When God, the universe, or whatever other higher power we might believe in says that your time is done, well, it's done. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. The present is a gift to us.
You don't look so good.